I'm going to show you the sort of classic weaving in the ends, and I don't care that it might show a little bit on this inner flap of the ear of this hat. So what I'll do is just skim along the back of the knitting, going up a few stitches and then skimming adjacent kind of column of stitches going back down. And then I could do one more for extra security. So I'm sort of making an N shape, and I'm just skimming. I don't want it to show on the other side. That's why a sharp needle's so good, because you can split through the plies of yarn and just catch the back of it. And then trim. It's hard to even see it. And now one thing I want to note, this is very important, is that the direction I'm going up and down is the same direction that the knitting itself goes. I don't want to be going laterally, kind of across stitches in the same row. I'll show you the front side so you can see more clearly. So I'm going, so here's, my V's along a single row. There's a row of knitting along the shaft of a needle. And so I'm going up and down over several rows when I'm skimming my yarn. And that means that the knitting can stretch when I pull on it, just like the knitting itself will stretch. We want the woven in ends to stretch. And if we go the other way, they can actually pull out, and they'll certainly inhibit the stretch as well. But we don't want it pulling out, because that would sort of defeat the purpose of sewing in. And seams are kind of an exception. Like, I could sew along this seam because the seam's not going to really stretch, depending on the seam and how you've made it. But if it's a firm seam, you can get away with that. And of course, you don't want to knot the yarn. That's sort of the first instinct, is to just tie a knot in the yarn, but it actually comes out. This weaving in the ends may seem kind of loosey-goosey by comparison, but it's much stronger. It will last just fine, and that's the standby way of finishing off an end in your knitting.